Hi guys, this is Dr. Pangelinen, and in this lecture, I'm going to review the peer review instructions for the group task card activity. For this assignment, each of you will review another group's task card for their activity for their module. The goal is to help that group receive the most points when they submit their final task card for my review. Note, this is an individual assignment. So this is not a group assignment. Each person will be assigned another group's task card to review. That means that each group will receive 3 to 4 reviews of their task card. You will assign points for each section of the task card: the activity and name and goal, the materials, the setup description, instructions, and the setup picture. You'll provide comments for each section, what was done well and what was not done well. You'll describe why and how many points were lost. I provided a little bit of feedback in terms of how many points I think should be lost for each of the common issues that I've seen in the past. Spelling and grammar issues, you can subtract half a point. Materials not provided alphabetically, you can subtract half a point. Missing steps in the instructions, you can submit half a point. Missing images corresponding to the instructions, you can submit half a point. And if the images are of poor quality or unclear, you can subtract half a point. You will upload your peer review onto Canvas as a PowerPoint format, and you'll be graded on the following. You'll receive up to 10 points for providing a grade for each section. You'll receive up to 10 points for providing detailed feedback for each section. Again, you need to describe what was good and why points were lost. Here's an example of a submitted peer review from an individual. I'll show you the task card that was created that they reviewed. So they gave 5 out of 5 points for the new activity name and the goal, 4.5 out of 5 points for the material list, and they subtracted half a point because the material list was not alphabetized. For the setup, they gave 5 out of 5 points because the setup instructions were easy to follow. They gave 15 out of 15 points for the text description and 4.5 out of 5 points for the corresponding pictures. They provided feedback that the instructions were easy to follow, the verbal cues were helpful and simple, there were no spelling errors or poor grammar in the text, the pictures of each activity were helpful, but one of the pictures for part of the instructions was missing, and so they subtracted half a point. They provided 5 out of 5 points for the example of the setup because the pictures for the setup were very clear. So here's the task card that they evaluated, and we'll go through each section. So for this group, they were assigned foundational skills. They modified the activity called Scarf Game provided in the original foundational skills module. They created a new game called Balloon Game. The goal of this activity was to increase eye-hand coordination by throwing and catching a balloon. The materials are small and large balloons and masking tape. Here's where they lost half a point because the material list was not written alphabetically. For the setup, if there's more than one child, tape a spot on the floor where the child or children should stand. Make sure that there's at least an arm's length between each of the children. Blow up the balloons so that you have small and large balloons. For the instructions, they say, just like in the scarf game, let the children toss, pass, or hit the balloon. For part 1, if there's more than one child, have each child stand on one of the spots marked on the floor. Here it's marked as red X's. Practice tossing and hitting the balloon with 2 hands up and down and say 2 hands up or 2 hands down. These are the verbal cues they're providing. And the image here shows a person that's tossing the balloon up with 2 hands and a person that's tossing the balloon up and down with 1 hand. For the second part, if there's more than one child, move the children closer together. If there's only one child, then the parent or the coach moves closer to the child. And there's 3 parts for the second piece. They can practice passing the ball overhead. The verbal cues they've created is 2 hands overhead. And here's the description. The setup is closer, so the spacing is closer, and they're going to pass the balloon overhead to the next child. Practice passing the balloon between the legs. Say 2 hands between legs. Here's the picture describing the activity where the kids are standing on their marked spot. They're passing the balloon between their legs. For the last part, practice passing the balloon by twisting the body. Their verbal cue is say 2 hands twist, but they don't provide a picture, so this is where they lost another half point. Here's the example of the setup. For part 1, tossing and hitting, the floor spots are marked with red X's, and there's plenty of space between each of the kids to practice the skills. For part 2, for passing, the children can move closer together so they can easily pass the balloon from one kid to the next. Please let me know if you have any questions about what information needs to be included in the peer review. Again, you will receive 20 points for your peer evaluation, 10 points for providing points for each of the different sections you evaluate, and 10 points for providing a description of why the group received the point markup.